Good morning. Today we are going to learn one of the important constructs of the programming language, that is looping. So what is loop? Means iteration. Loop means iteration or repetitive statements. What it is? Repetitive statements. That means that executing or skipping set of blocks. Skipping a single or block of statements. Okay, so that is called as a loop. Loop means iteration. Anything which are going to execute repeatedly. So any here, if it comes to the looping, there are three types of looping. Okay, so how many types are there? There are three types of looping. If you will going to classify the loop here, that is for loop, while loop, and loop while. That's a condition. Okay, here it's a condition. Then here the three things. Okay, so these are the classification of the looping. These are classification. That's a figure. Classification of looping statements. Looping statements. So any looping, you must and should remember that it must and should contain three statements. What it need to have? It must and should contain three statements. One, initialization. Second, condition. Based on this condition, it may be true or false. Based on that, the statement will execute. And third one is a updation. Any looping must and should contain this. Updation means it may be the increment or it may be the decrement. So we must should have the increment statement or a decrement statement. Remember, looping is a iterative statement. There are three forms. One is a for loop, then the while condition, then the do while. So any of the three looping, it may be the for loop, it may be the while loop, or it may be the do while loop. We must and should have the three statements. One is initialization, where the execution start for the repetition. Condition, on satisfaction or a falsity, the set of blocks will execute. Third one is the updation. The updation can be the decrement or the increment operator. So let's take with the for loop. For loop, executing or skipping a set of statements repeatedly. Set of statements repeatedly. Okay, it is called as a looping repeatedly. So syntax, as I mentioned, the looping must and should contain the three things, that is for. First thing is initialization separated by the semicolon, then the condition, then the updation. Third part is updation. And here the blocks to execute. For block to execute on this condition. Based on this condition, this block will execute. This is the syntax for the looping. If you go for the flow chart for this, so let's take this. You can understand. Is it? I hope you are clear with the syntax. So let's go with the flow chart. Flow chart is first is the process, that is with the initialization. Once the initialization is done, then you are going to check with the condition. Here it's for a looping. It's a gone. So for initialization, condition, then updation. Okay, if it is true and false, it comes with two. Okay, true and false. Then next statement will execute with the next statement. Okay, so this is if it is, then again it will come for the looping for execution. This is the flow chart. If you comes with a conditional here, I can represent this loop in a different way. So let's first, you have the initialization. First we have the initialization. Okay, so before that, if it is a flow chart, then we have the start. Then once initialization, here we are going to check with the condition. If condition is true or false, there are two possibilities, that is true and false. True, one statement will execute, one block. False or another, the statement will never execute. Then the next statement is going to execute. This is how it's going to happen. If true, again execute and goes here for repetition. This is repeatedly executes. This will be repeatedly execute. So this is the for loop. Let's take one of the program so that you can understand how it is to be, why we are going to need the looping. Okay, looping is for the initialization, condition and the thing. That is repeated statement. Assume that now this is a program hash include standard input output dot h int main. Here I am going to read int a, b, c, d, e and z up to z. So what I have to do here, printf enter the values, enter values. Okay, so scanf all are of integer. So %d, %d, %d up to what? Up to z. That is percentage of A, address of B, address of C, and so on, address of Z. Fine. Okay. So if you want to print the values, printf, then %d, so on, %d, then A, B, so on to Z. What happened here? We have written how many characters here? 26 alphabets. So I am learning the values up to 26. So this kind of thing, this scanning can be reduced by using the looping. So what I can do here? We can make it as a int alpha. That's all are the alphabets of 26 characters. Okay. So it will become, this will called as an array. So next concept I am going to teach you the array so that you will understand how the looping will use with the array. So this thing can be changed now. How we can change now? Hash include studio.h, okay, int main, how many values we need? Int a of 26. Okay, so now printf enter the size. If you want initially the size, let's take the size int n, enter size. Okay, then scanf, you are going to learn %d, address of n. Okay, now here you have to ask for reading the elements one by one, that is printf enter elements one by one, enter elements one by one in the array. So here we must and should have the for I is started with 0, I is less than up to 1, the n, I plus plus. So you are going to read here scanf %d ampersand of a of I. Okay, if you want to print here itself, you can print rather than using one more statement. I will write here itself a of I. Here it is a scanf statement, hence we need to have the address, otherwise this is the close of the for and return 0 and this is the close of the main method. Let's trace this, how it is to be executed. Okay, the for executes, if you want to trace here how that is executed, for int, that is, what is that value is being taken here? That is for I equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. So first it will ask the size. When you say enter size, enter size. Assume that I am entering n is equal to 2. Okay, now I is initialized to 0 first time only once. Initialization executes only once throughout the program execution. How many times it will execute? It executes only once throughout the program execution. So initialized, then it will check 0 is less than 2, it is true. What will happen? It is now, it is true. So it will enter into the block. This will enter into the block. First, we will ask now print elements one by one. It is already asked, printed the elements one by one. So first element, once it will come here, what you are going to do? %A of I. So here A of I is represented. What is the value of I? I is 0. So A of 0th element we are going to learn as 20. And we are printing that value. Hence the 20 is being displayed on the screen. Now similarly, if you go with now the stress second, if you go on pressing for the second. Now next time it is to be first, it's to be only once it's executed. It went for the condition, it is true. Then this statement before coming to the block, again it will go for the updation. So test 2 when it comes, that is iteration 2, I value is incremented by 1, that is I plus plus means I is equal to I plus 1. So I plus plus here becomes the I value becomes 1 now. So once it is executed, this is the first step, this is the second step, this is the third step, this is the fourth step, and this is the repetition of the thing. I equal to 1 now, it will check now. I is equal to 1, 1 is less than 2. It is true. Once it is true, then again it will ask for the value. You are entering the A of 1 value. That is A of 1 value is 30. So the array comes as first is 20. Now you have inserted 3. As n size you have taken 2. What is the size of n? It is 2. So you have added, this is A of 0th element and this is A of 1th element. Now assume it over, again it is I value is updated. So I value will become 2. Whether 2 is less than 2, the condition checks. Now it is false. If the condition is false, it will come out. Hence, you have read this array. In this way, the for loop works. Okay, so again I will explain how the for will work. For I equal to 0, I is less than 2, I plus plus. Okay, so print, just nothing I am doing here, printf, printing the value of I. Okay, what we are going to do? Print the value of I. So this is the step 1. What is that? Step 1 is initialization. Next, step 2 is condition. Step 3 is executing the block. Okay, step 3 is executing. Step 4 is updation. Again 5 that repeat. Go to repeat. So how the algorithm we can find here? That is step 1 initialization. Step 2, that the name of the algorithm is working of for loop. Step 0 is start. Step 1 initialization. Step 2 check the condition. Check for condition. Step 3 condition true. What is this condition is? It is Boolean value, true or false. Okay, 1 means true, 0 means false. Okay, so if condition true, go to step 4. Always go to step 4, else go to step 6. Okay, so what is step 4? I will tell now here. Step 4 is updation. Step 4, once it is true, then you are going to execute the block. What you are going to do? Execute the block. Then step 5, you have to go for updation. Step 6, again condition. Check the condition. Finally, step 7 is stop. So this is how the condition of looping will execute. I hope you are clear. Once I will trace this, you will understand again tracing. Let's take the first step. One is as the algorithm start. Now we have initialized I value equal to 0. Assume that here I have taken 1. So 1 here, 1 is less than 2. It is the conditions is true. Once condition is true, what the I value will be there? 0 will display. Once it displays, it is updated. Then I plus plus that becomes I is equal to 1. Now sorry, initially I is 0. Now I is 1. 1 is less than 2, it is true. Then it enters into the block. It prints the value of I. What is the value of I? I is 0, then I became 1. Next again go for updation. I plus plus, I value becomes 2. But whether the 2 is less than true? No. Here it is false. False means it will come out of the for loop and it will execute. I hope you are clear with the for loop. Thank you.